Hello and welcome to the program. My name is Jumoke Adeotiaino. The governor of Ebonyi State, David Jumie, is currently locked in a legal battle to retain his seat as the fifth governor of Ebonyi State. Last week, a court in Abuja sacked David Jumie, his deputy Eric Igwe, and 16 other lawmakers following their defection from the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressive Congress. Now, what is the court saying? Justice Iyan Ekwo held that the victory secured by the PDP, the platform which David Jumie used to contest, belongs to the party and cannot be legally transferred to the APC. The court also made an order of mandatory injunction compelling INEC to accept from the PDP a list of its candidates to replace the sacked lawmakers, as well as issue certificates of return to them, which INEC is yet to take steps on. Now, this is a big issue that has flooded the Nigerian political sphere in past weeks. And though Governor David Jumie has gone to the appeal court to appeal the verdict of the Federal High Court in Abuja, but there have been conflicting analysis on the judge's decision, and of course that's why we've brought in a lawyer who would give us more perspective and more insight on what the Constitution really stands for in issues like this. And I'm joined by Mr. Dakpo Adaremewa. He's a dynamic entrepreneur who is passionate about nation building. He acquired his first degree in international business from Sheffield Hallam University, UK, a master's in international relations from Warwick University, UK, and a certificate in leadership from Harvard University, USA. He's an outspoken governance consultant who provides insightful analysis on national and international issues and prefers lasting solutions. Thank you very much, sir, for joining the program.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. Okay, now I'd like us to start the discussion with the judge's verdict on Governor David Jumie's nursing defection to the All Progressive Congress. What's your take? What's your perception on Justice Iyan Ekwo's verdict?
Well, yeah, I think it's quite interesting to see the different perspectives that different judges are taking on the same case, because the Zamfara State Governor Bello had a very similar case in which the court clearly dismissed that on account of his immunity from prosecution, as this is not a pre- or post-election matter. To see a different court take a different stance is always very interesting, and it's worrying, because in the legal system there shouldn't be such inconsistencies. The courts are a place where you go and get justice, right? Justice is blind, and justice must be consistent. So why we have these kind of inconsistencies in our legal system is very worrying to me, and it's a threat to the whole democracy itself.
So what solutions would you prefer to cases like this?
I think there needs to be clarity from the Supreme Court as to all these issues. But I think in terms of lasting solution, it is better if the Electoral Act is very clear, if the Constitution is very clear, because there is some clarity around federal and state lawmakers, right? So as a federal lawmaker, as a state lawmaker, if you change your party, and it's not the product of a division within your party, and it's not the amalgamation of your party with another. If you change your party, your seat is declared vacant. So that means it has to go to a by-election, right? The Constitution is crystal clear when it comes to federal and state lawmakers. Constitution, on the other hand, is not so clear when it comes to the president, the vice president, the governor, and the deputy governor. And I think that's where the issue is. We've done that in the past. When we had an issue when Amechi versus INEC, wherein Amechi was made the governor and he didn't go through the process, after which they amended the Electoral Act to ensure that in order to become the or assume any position, you must go through all stages of the process, right? So there's a precedent of reacting to issues and changing the law, which is what the legislature is there for. So it's about time that they sit down around the table and say, okay, we need a lasting solution to this problem. It's not a new problem.
Okay.
As far back as 2007, I believe, we had something similar under Obasanjo and Atiku, right? So it's not a new thing, and the debate has been going up and down with different rulings from different courts. it's about time we settle it once and for all and enshrine it in our constitution, I feel.
All right. Could it be from the place of this constitution is actually interpreted differently? I mean, every judge, of course, they have their opinions. Could it be coming from they interpret it in a different way? Could that be maybe a problem that's allowing these conflicting verdicts?
Yes, to an extent. When the law is ambiguous, right, it opens it up for interpretation depending on who. But that's why there's a hierarchy in the court system. You know, once it gets to the Supreme Court and it gives a verdict on that particular issue, that should be enough. You know, going forward, that's the precedent, and that's the way every other judge should rule. So it's not uncommon for there to be ambiguities in constitutions, right? And that's where, you know, obviously lawyers make their money, because you have to exploit these inconsistencies.
For the loopholes.
Yes, looking for lacunas in the law, take advantage of it to your client's benefit. And that's what we're seeing here, I think. Well, it's very worrying. I know a lot of these issues for the average Nigerian, it's a lot. It's hard, because we're talking about senior advocates of Nigeria who have been debating these issues for years. If you put 10 of them in this room, you'll probably come out with 5 different perspectives at the end of the day. So it often goes above the head of most people. You know, I find it difficult to understand these things as well. But simply put, it's a question of, if I, as a member of the electorate, look through the list of political parties, found a party that I felt aligned with what I envisioned for my state or the country as a whole, and I made the decision to put my thumbprint next to that party. I've made that choice. I only get to make that choice once every 4 years. Now, is it right that somebody else can sign a piece of paper, make one move, and take that powerful vote I have given to that particular party as represented by that candidate and transfer it to a party that I intentionally did not pick? We don't have a transferable vote system in Nigeria. So I picked whatever party I picked. So for my vote to somehow then be used to empower another party, to me, is wrong. I think if it comes down to that, then I think we need to go back to the drawing board and vote again, so that I can make my choice. If my choice was mostly based on the candidates, yes, of course I can re-vote for his new party. But if there's something about the party that I felt, his previous party, that I felt was what I needed or what the nation needed, then I should be allowed to give my vote back to those people. Nobody should take my vote. Just that simple. All
right, I have 2 questions from your analysis. The justice has given INEC 2 options to, of course, they've nullified the victory of Governor David Jumie in the election, and they've asked PDP to submit prospective candidate that they want to fill up these vacant positions, or conduct another election. Is this even constitutional? Well, what do you make of this?
I believe another election is constitution. The constitution does allow that. Although there's a whole other conversation as to who has the right. I believe the constitution is to an extent very clear as to how a governor can be removed. And this is not an election tribunal. This is not an act of the legislature. So the question of whether this court even has the right to dismiss a sitting governor.
They don't?
I don't believe that they do. I don't believe. But again, you know, you could get 10 lawyers to argue it differently. But the Constitution is very clear. It's either death, resignation, or an act of the legislature, or an electoral tribunal. This is none of those things. So where this court feels it has the right to you know, obviously, and this is a governor who has taken the oath of office. This is the sitting governor. It's not a pre-election matter.
Could that be why INEC gave the option of conducting another election? Because they know that even the court knows that they don't have the power to remove a certain governor. Could that be why they give INEC 2 options, to conduct another election?
Well, yeah, but they're attempting to remove him already, because you cannot call for INEC to, you know, conduct another election while he's still governor, right? You have to remove him first before you can conduct it. So, okay, even if let's just, you know, choose to ignore the fact that Constitution expressly does not give them that right, but to even make the suggestion that we can simply go back to the political party and say, come on, and point somebody from your ranks, somebody who has not gone through any of the processes, and then just slide him in as governor. That is, I believe that would even be a very dangerous precedent. I don't believe the Constitution allows that, but basically what we are saying is that if the votes belong to the political party solely and they can do with it as they will, then a political party can very well use you to attain a particular office, and then halfway through they're like, okay, well, thank you very much for what you've done, and then exchange it for me.
Like the Amechi and Umea's case?
Well, that was different because that was a pre-election matter, right? That was, and it was after that the Electoral Act was actually changed to ensure that in order to hold that office, you must have gone through every stage of the political process. You cannot just come in at the last minute and then be declared governor, or any other post for that matter. It's wrong. I think it happened in the past, and then they changed the laws to adjust and prevent.
What are the checks to make sure that whenever something wants to get changed, it is actually for a good and a democratic purpose?
I think that's where our legislature comes in, and it has to go through the first reading, second reading. So all our legislative arms of government are involved in changing the law, both the Federal House of Reps and the Senate as well. So they're involved in this, and they are the checks and balances, right? They are there to ensure that whatever law is passed to the advantage of Nigerians, and obviously the final stage is the president assenting to any particular bill that has been introduced as well. So there's a lot of checks and balances from our representatives that should prevent these kind of things from happening. But seems like they're still happening. And I think what we're suffering from now is a situation where the judiciary is being politicized, and it's a very dangerous place to be, because the judiciary, if you will, is the final bulwark. It's the protector of us as citizens. It is the independent party that can come in and give justice to those who need it. Now we're building a democracy where we, the people, no longer have faith in the forces, because people are afraid because of a lot of things that are happening around and we know are happening. So people don't have faith in the enforcement of the laws. Now we don't have faith they're giving people a reason not to have faith in actually the judicial system itself. Now that's a very dangerous place. If the people don't believe in the democracy, it takes away legitimacy from the government. And that's just one step away from people taking up arms against their government. By the time the government is deemed as illegitimate, it is often the prerequisite to people feeling like, okay, enough is enough. So it's a very worrying trend, and I think...
is this a Nigerian problem, or that's how it is globally?
Well, yes. I think to an extent we do suffer extensively from it in Nigeria. It is very, very almost impossible for you to hear of things like that in the US or the UK or in any advanced democracy wherein courts are giving different rulings on the same issues, parallel courts as well. It's unheard of.
Of course, the Supreme Court has the final
say, and so anytime a judge is making a ruling on any particular case, he should take into account other rulings that have come before that. Those should be part of the consideration before. Well, as it is in Nigeria, it's a lot of uncertainty.
All right. So there's been a bone of contention, and you actually mentioned it about who actually owns the votes, the party or the candidate. And trust me, I've seen lots of comments from even student advocates of Nigeria saying the party is just a sponsor of the candidate. The candidate actually owns the vote. And some are saying it is actually the party that owns the vote, because after all, on the ballot box, you see the party's logo on the ballot paper. So as a lawyer, what's your opinion on this? What would you say about this?
I think it's very clear from Amechi versus INEC that the court declared that the party owns the votes. Now, that doesn't mean that the party then has free will to do with the votes as they please. There are certain things that are there to protect. So, in many ways, although legally it says that the party owns the vote, in reality, it's the party and the candidate that own the vote. there's nothing the party can do with the votes without the candidates, and there's nothing the candidates can do. Well, that's what we're debating. What can the candidate do with the votes without the party? Because this is the main issue. This candidate is taking all those votes with him as though it's his personal property and giving it to a different political party. So, yeah, it's a very complex thing. But if you ask people, you realize that for the average Nigerian, we are voting for the party and the person. Usually most people are voting primarily for the party, really. Because we have cases in Nigeria where relatively unknown people, just thrust upon the populace within, a year of the election, and that's the first time you've ever heard their name. But yet people vote, and that's because of the party that is behind that person. The party signifies stability, it signifies structure. It gives people a lot of faith that, it's not just one person, it's an entire system that's behind him. So yeah, we the people are voting for both the party, and I think it's only fair. I mean, let's put the law aside and let's talk directly to people, to everyday people. I think it's only fair. It's only fair that if I vote for a particular candidate and a particular party, that nobody along the line changes that. You don't spring up a new candidate on me. You don't spring up a new party without my consent. In any other context in life, we would not accept that. So why should we accept it on one of the most fundamental parts of our democracy? We only get this vote once every 4 years. If you guys cannot stabilize yourself, for 4 years, then maybe you don't deserve to be on that seat. Maybe you should come back to us, the people, and ask us what we want to do now, because we have the power, right? The people have the power, and people always need to remember that. These people are acting on behalf of the people as well. So they shouldn't be able to make just drastic decisions like that. I don't think it's appropriate.
All right, thank you very much. We'll take a break now, and when we return, we'll talk about Governor David Jumie outburst to Justice Inyang Ekwo after his verdict. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the program. Now, is the authority of the judiciary being threatened? That's our next discussion. And I still have Mr. Dapo right in the studio with us.
Thank you.
So I'm going to ask you the direct question.
Go.
Do you think it's been threatened, the judiciary of Nigeria?
Yes, I feel that the conduct that we have seen towards the judiciary has no place in a democracy. You don't call out the judiciary. They're not political actors. This isn't a party war. This is an independent, and there are avenues in which you don't have to agree with the ruling of the judge, and that's why the law provides you with ways and pathways to appeal, to challenge, and to prove your case, right? You don't prove your case. You win nothing if you go out to the population and you tell them, oh, this judge is this judge is that, this judge is this. The people are not the one deciding your case. And that judge is not running for office. He doesn't need our vote. So you trying to shall we say, trash his name in public is, to me, it's just a very unnecessary act. And I think we need to, as a nation, have more respect for the judiciary. It's a very sacred part of our system, So they deserve that respect, and they should get it.
Okay, where do you think the effrontery came from on the part of Governor David Jumie? I mean, he said a lot of uncomplimentary things to the justice. Where do you think this effrontery came from?
How do I articulate this? I wouldn't describe that as effrontery. I would describe it as crass or brash, in the sense that it's not an indication of confidence by any mark. It's just terrible manners. I think we can disagree on certain issues and remain very civil to each other. I think it's insulting to think that a judge was spoken to that way publicly. I don't think we should encourage those kind of things. I think there needs to be more respect for the judiciary system, because even even politicians themselves, by and large, they respect each other to an extent. I don't see anybody who would probably say that about the president. I don't see anybody, no matter how much you disagree, even around the Electoral Act, whether it was signed or not signed, no politician ever came out and spoke so ill of him, So why would we do that to the judiciary? We need to respect them as an independent arm of government. And I hope that going forward, that is what we see. To me, it just looked like a pepped up emotion that just came out. I think behind closed doors he would probably regret.
He's actually apologized
to
the judiciary, and isn't it funny that in the same breath he said he doesn't believe in the judge's verdict, and also he has gone to the Court of Appeal to appeal this case. Same judiciary. Isn't it that laughable that you, on the same breath, you're saying you don't have belief in the judge's decision, and you're also going to the same. So, like you said, it's probably just emotional outburst and that. But that's actually not expected of someone who is actually even vying for presidency.
Yes, definitely.
Does this affect his
chances?
Yes.
Not too much.
Because we're in Nigeria, it should.
It would. You see, I find that oftentimes things like this, they make the news real for a while, and maybe 2 days, 3 days tops. We've forgotten what even happened. Do you get what I'm saying?
That's sad.
So there's a lot. The country is going through a lot. I believe they've just said that all airlines are going to be shut down in 3 days. So we got things to worry about, So I don't think it really affects his chances. Wish him all the best, I guess.
All right. So some are saying that his outburst mirrors the present day administration. When you malign the government and they take it personal. I'm going to give an example of presidential spokesperson Loretta Onochi, when Nigerians were asking why the president was constantly going on medical trip, and she called Nigerians mannerless. So could it be that it's probably what we see from the executive? Is it a norm now, and what's the way forward now?
Now, I have actually thought about this, and I've seen some of the president's spokespeople come out and say things, even things like, oh, is it today that there's been petrol scarcity, all those kind of statements. And there's a certain delusional quality that power gives people. It obstructs them from seeing quite often what's going on, and power gets to their head, and it's not uncommon. But this particular, I would say this regime, we've seen a lot of that. There's this brash crudeness sometimes in which people at that level forget whose backs they are standing on. Do you understand? They forget that the power actually belongs to the people. And so they treat the people like, with a certain disdain. They speak to them without courtesy, without respect. I think that is very detrimental for the democratic system. And if history has shown us one thing, is that the moment the elites get caught up in this bubble where they think they're untouchable, eventually something comes and bursts that bubble. You only need to check through the history books and realize that no matter what kind of system you build that you think protects you in your little bubble, eventually, if you do not take care of the needs of the people, it will burst your bubble. So that's what the Nigerian elite needs to understand, that you can't disregard people anymore. You can't tell flimsy stories. I was having a conversation with somebody. I was like, it's gotten to the point where I feel like Nigeria's elite and political class don't have respect anymore. It's like, what happened to the money? Oh, a monkey came and stole the money, or a snake ate the money. Like, are you trying to say we're unintelligent? Do you go to and say, like, there's this, like, they're not even bothering to come up with a good lie anymore. It's just like, or offices catching fire. This is not new. Like, every time finance office in Abuja catches fire, this office catches fire around the election season. Oh wow, so comfortably a lot of documents have been lost and nobody knows where the 5 billion went. All these kind of things, it's like, it's arrogance. Like, you're not even making an attempt anymore, and I just hope we don't realize the dangers of what we're playing with when it's too late, because there's no country that's beyond, beyond the damage, shall we say.
Yeah, Nigeria is actually at the brink.
There's a threat of collapse, you
Yes.
know, and there's nothing that we have that, all those collapsed and failed states, don't have. We have most things, there's insecurity, instability. The people don't believe in the forces anymore. They don't believe in the judiciary, and so that's
the last
why
hope of the common man, the judiciary, and
exactly. It's gone, and it's worrying. Just even the abject poverty puts people on edge. The amount of crime that's going on in Nigeria, and it doesn't take a genius to figure out. Even if you put police on the street on every corner, if people are starving and they're hungry, they're going to find something to eat any which way. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's a very dangerous place, I think we are, and I fear that, like we discussed, the political class are not really seeing it. But maybe it's because they live in a bubble.
And they feel they're untouchable.
They feel untouchable.
And I remember a comment by Senator Jumie that, okay, on your street you see beggars, one day they'll start jumping your fences and coming into your bedroom to attack you. So why don't you just find a solution to the abject poverty that is in Nigeria at the moment? And it's really, really sad, because we have intelligent people. We have people who can rule this country very well, and I don't know what we do with our PVCs and what we do on election days. I don't know if our vote really counts. Do you think our votes actually count? Because it boils down to party and candidates. I mean, the party's hold of election I feel it's just too much, because even if you like a particular candidate, but because that person is not in a party, in the ruling party, the person doesn't end up succeeding. Do you think the hold on party? Do you think the party dominance is should be worrisome at this moment? Shouldn't we vote for candidates? Shouldn't candidate be our focus?
Well, it should, but I don't. I feel that the problem is the voting population. You see, I remember saying to somebody, I was like, God is not going to save Nigeria, no matter how hard we pray. For one simple fact is because there are principles, right, that have been established, that God has put in place that run this world. And we have to do our part. We have to make an effort. You cannot just sit in a dark room and pray to God for food. No matter how long you pray, you will starve. Do you understand? So we cannot pray to God for a system to work when we're not willing to work it. We leave voting to Nigeria's population, who by their very nature, where they are in society, cannot make the best decisions. They just simply cannot, because one, they're too impoverished, they're too hungry to be able to make good quality decisions, and then there's poor education. Whereas the people who faith, shall we say, have placed in a good place, where they have the education, they have at least the understanding of the future, the faith that the future will come, and so they can make a decision based on what the future holds. They stay at home during elections. They stay at home during elections. Everybody's comfortable because nobody wants to risk anything. But yet we will fast comfortably for 2 days. No, it doesn't make any sense. But
their fears are valid, actually, because they have this mindset that the votes actually don't count.
They don't count because we believe they don't count. That's the irony of it, right? Do you get what I'm saying? If people go out there, they step out and they make an attempt, yes, there is risk, but nothing incredible has ever come to being except somebody was willing to take a risk. And until Nigerians, this country is too big, we can't all run away. Not everybody can get out. The world is not even big enough to accept all of us. Do you get what I'm saying? So people need to make an effort. I hope that with this new election things change.
Do you have your PVC?
Of course.
Okay, I also have my PVC.
We're ready then.
Yeah, we're ready.
We're ready.
All right, so we await the judge from the Supreme Court of Appeal on David Umahi's case. Yes. And what would you like the verdict to be, personally enough?
Personally, I'm by and large indifferent. I want clarity for the system, for the legal system in the country. But I think as a citizen, I don't think it is right that I would vote for a party as represented by a candidate, and that vote will be taken and given to another party. Because if I believed in that party, I would have voted for that party in the first place. So you shouldn't transmit what I have given you to somebody else without my consent. And so I'm hoping that the Supreme Court, or there's changes to the laws that clarify this point. If we can do it for lawmakers, then it should, by every stretch of the imagination, apply to governors and the presidency as well.
All right. Thank you very much for coming on the program. It was insightful, and I gained a lot too.
Thank you. I learned a lot too.
All right. And that's all on Politics, BISCON Politics. Join us again next week for another episode. Thank you for watching.